You wake up exhausted. You need coffee before you can even think. By mid afternoon, you are totally wiped out and you need a nap. You get a second wind around 9 or 10 at night that keeps you scrolling long past when you should be asleep. You lie down, your body is exhausted, your mind will not stop. It keeps going, replaying everything. You crave sugar in the afternoon. You also crave salt. You get lightheaded when you stand up too fast. A hard week used to take a day or so to bounce back from. Now it can take up to a month. Unfortunately, these are symptoms that I hear quite often, not just during my discovery call, but during the initial intake with my new patients. Something that they have been complaining about for years, a cluster of symptoms without real answers. You have been told you need to reduce your stress. You have been offered an antidepressant, maybe an anti anxiety medication. You have been offered a sleep aid. You have been told your cortisol is fine if it was measured and may have not been measured. And what if it's not fine? What if fine is the wrong measurement entirely? I'm Stasha-Gae Roberts, nurse practitioner, U.S. Army veteran, BHRT certified, and the founder of Compassion Primary Care. You are not lazy, you are not exaggerating, and you are not just getting old. And you do not have to prove you are struggling to be taken seriously here. Today, I'm going to walk you through what adrenal dysfunction actually is, why the label most women hear is misleading, and how to actually test for the pattern your body has been trying to tell you about for years. So, this pattern has a name. Women call it feeling wired but tired. You are exhausted by 3 in the afternoon. You cannot function without multiple cups of coffee. You cannot fall asleep at night even though your body is spent. You wake up feeling like you did not even sleep. You are actually on edge in a low grade way all the time. You are irritable, you are anxious, and small things feel enormous. Your recovery from stress has slowed to a crawl. A rough week takes weeks to recover from now, not days. You crave sugar in the afternoon because your body is asking for that quick energy your cortisol used to provide on cue. You crave salt because your electrolyte balance is being affected by cortisol dysregulation. You get dizzy when you stand up. Your morning is like a sloth, even after 7 or 8 hours in bed. And if more than two or three of those sound like you may be dealing with a specific measurable pattern. And it is not something you can push through. So if you just recognize yourself in that list, I want you to know something. This is not who you are. This is what your body is doing. And that is something we can actually measure. So let's name what this pattern actually cost you, because the cost is not just fatigue, right? It is that inability to show up for your family. You cannot do the things with your husband, maybe go on that date. It's the friendship you let quietly fade because you had nothing left to give. It is the time with the grandchildren or children that you have to cancel because you don't feel well. It is the version of you at 32 you keep trying to find your way back to. And every time you brought this up to a clinician, you have been told to sleep more. Maybe someone told you to try meditation or to reduce your stress. Maybe they wanted to prescribe an antidepressant. Nobody has actually measured the chemistry. And that is what I want to change today. So let's name what is actually happening in your body. Your adrenals are two small glands that sit on the top of your kidneys. They make cortisol, DHEA, and other hormones that govern how your body responds to stress. They do not work alone. They are actually in constant communication with a part of your brain called the hypothalamus and another part called the pituitary gland. And that whole conversation is called the HPA axis. HPA, hypothalamic pituitary adrenal. And when the HPA axis is working well, cortisol is naturally supposed to rise in the morning and gradually decline throughout the day, and it reaches its lowest point at night so you can actually sleep. When the HPA axis is dysregulated, this rhythm breaks. Cortisol may be too high throughout the day, it may stay too low, it may spike at night when it should be quiet and you're trying to sleep, or it may be flat into a pattern with no real peaks and no real troughs or valleys. Integrative medicine calls this adrenal dysfunction. And I want to name something important here. The older term you may have heard was called adrenal fatigue, and it is misleading. Your adrenals are not exhausted, they are not failing. The communication between your brain and your adrenals has shifted after years of chronic demand. The signaling has changed. That is what needs to be tested. So, adrenal dysfunction does not happen all of a sudden. It builds usually over years. Chronic stress is usually the most common driver. Years of caregiving, professional demands, financial pressures, illnesses, or grief can keep the HPA axis activated for far longer than it was designed to handle. Hormonal change actually compounds the picture. So, as progesterone starts declining around the age of 35, and then estrogen starts to fluctuate throughout perimenopause, the body loses some of the hormonal buffering that used to stabilize the stress response. So, that means the same stressors that felt manageable at 32 feel overwhelming at 42. And the HPA axis shows it. Sleep loss, blood sugar swings, gut dysfunction, and post viral illnesses all contribute to this pattern. Each one independently disrupts cortisol rhythm. In combination, they drive the dysregulated patterns that most midlife women carry without knowing it or knowing why. Here is why standard labs miss this. Your standard primary care visit will check cortisol once in the morning on a single blood draw. That test is designed to rule out adrenal failure, such as Addison's disease, or we can be looking at things such as Cushing's. These are more life threatening issues that, if not addressed, can cause serious issues. A single morning cortisol will rule these out. It will tell you nothing about your daily rhythm. Adrenal dysfunction lives in the daily rhythm, not in a single point. A morning cortisol that sits inside the reference range tells you nothing about whether your rhythm is healthy. The whole curve has to be measured. The test that actually works is a 4-point cortisol panel. This is measured by saliva or by dried urine. Samples are taken at waken, mid morning, in the afternoon, and at bedtime. The pattern across the day reveals dysregulation that no single blood draw can show you. DHEA-S is measured alongside it to assess how well your adrenals are functioning. A 2023 review in the journal Cell Metabolism confirmed that mapping cortisol across the day outperformed single point measurements for identifying HPA axis dysfunction. Most midlife women have never been offered this test. If your cortisol has only ever been measured once on a single morning blood draw, you do not actually know your cortisol status. You only know you do not have Addison's or Cushing's disease. That is not the same thing. So let's talk honestly. Adrenal dysfunction is real, it's a measurable pattern. It is also a term that gets used loosely sometimes, and I do not want to be part of that. Adrenal dysfunction is not a permission slip to ignore other things that need to be evaluated. Many women told that they have adrenal fatigue are actually dealing with overlapping issues. So, whether that be thyroid dysfunction, sleep apnea, anemia, mast cell activation, perimenopausal hormonal changes, chronic infection, a real evaluation looks at all of this together. It's not just one label. The question is not, do I have adrenal fatigue or not? The question should be, what is dysregulating my HPA axis and what else is happening alongside it? The interventions that work require a layered support, and the order matters. So, diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management are the foundation. Targeted support comes when the foundation is in place and the evaluation calls for it, not the other way around. Cortisol rhythm work is foundational. Morning light exposure, consistent sleep and wake times, earlier dinners, lower carbohydrate evenings, limiting caffeine afternoon. These things are not optional. The body cannot heal HPA axis dysregulation while the daily patterns are still driving it. Stress regulation matters next. Things such as slow breathing. For Christian women, the practice of prayer and the rhythms of faith support nervous system regulation in ways that research is actually recognizing now. Gentle movement or gentle exercise, parasympathetic nervous system work, these are clinical interventions and they are not luxuries. Blood sugar stability supports cortisol rhythm directly. Meals should be built around protein, healthy fats, and vegetables to prevent the swings that drive cortisol surges and crashes throughout the day. Targeted nutrient repletion supports the foundation. Vitamin C is concentrated in your adrenal glands and it is depleted by stress. Vitamin D helps to support HPA axis dysregulation and is commonly low in midlife women. Magnesium and B vitamins support nervous system regulation. Phosphatidylserine can help to blunt or decrease elevated evening cortisol when that is a pattern. Adaptogenic herbs such as ashwagandha, rhodiola, and holy basil help to support resilience when matched to specific patterns. And then, where the evaluation warrants it, targeted hormonal support is also helpful. For women whose picture includes declining progesterone, restoring it with bioidentical micronized progesterone often helps to improve sleep, reduces the wired but tired feeling, and supports HPA recovery. I am BHRT certified, and this is a tool I use individually based on real evaluation and addressing what else is happening. Thyroid function, gut health, chronic inflammation or infection. Again, HPA access recovery is rarely possible without addressing what is keeping the body activated. And so here's what I want you to leave with. If you have been living with the wired but tired pattern for years, if you have been told to reduce your stress by people who do not understand what your life actually looks like, if you have been offered an antidepressant when what you needed was an investigation, please hear this. Your exhaustion is real. Your inability to bounce back is real. And the chemistry can be measured. The rhythm can be mapped. The pattern can actually be identified and it can be supported. Again, a single normal morning cortisol does not rule out adrenal dysfunction. The rhythm has to be measured. And until it is, the conversation is actually incomplete. So, if the wired but tired pattern sounds like what you have been living with, I would love for you to book a free, no pressure discovery call. My signature Finally Answered program is a 3-month root cause investigation built for women who are done leaving appointments without answers. The discovery call is free, and it is a chance for a real conversation, not a sales call, with me. Book your discovery call. The link is in the description. Compassion Primary Care serves women across the entire state of Florida through virtual care with home visits and in person care at the Wellness Center of Ellington in the Tampa Bay Suncoast region. This is not your 20s, ladies. However, this is not your new normal, and you do not have to prove you're struggling to be taken seriously here. I'm Stasha-Gae Roberts. Thank you for taking the time and trusting me with your time to watch this video. Please like, share with another lady that you know who needs this, and I look forward to talking to you and assisting you with nursing your journey to lasting wellness. Take care.